Katherine is the Director of Workforce Development for the Virginia Manufacturing Association. Katherine leads the VMA Workforce Development Division, including the Virginia Council on Advanced Technology Skills, or VCATS, and all educational and job-related programs and services of the VMA, as well as overseeing the Education and Workforce Development Policy arm of the VMA. Prior to the VMA, Katherine was a private sector consultant for Worldwide Interactive Network, WIN, since 2007, where she established work readiness, skill assessment, and training resources in community colleges, workforce development boards, and other educational facilities within Virginia and throughout the country. In addition, Katherine holds a patent for creating a software application to assist workforce professionals to position education and training as an engine for economic development and business retention. Prior to WIN, Katherine spent more than 8 years in key positions within state government, most notably the Deputy Senior Advisor for Workforce Development in the Governor's Office, Deputy Director for the Council on Virginia's Future, and Director for Workforce Policy within the Workforce Development Services Division of the Virginia Community College System. Prior to state leadership positions, Katherine was Director of Research and Communications within the Council of Independent Colleges in Virginia and served as Vice President for the Lynchburg Regional Chamber of Commerce. Katherine is from Nebraska and served under the leadership of Governor Ben Nelson, where she helped to create the Nebraska Partnership Project, merging 5 state agencies to create the Nebraska Health and Human Services System. Katherine, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.
I tell you, that's kind of a long intro, isn't it? Thank you for your patience in listening to that. I know that you received a copy of it, and it probably feels a little redundant, but I have to say it makes me feel like I've made a positive difference. So thank you for indulging me by listening to Dr. Doug read that. I will say that something that I don't submit in writing as it relates to a bio is a little bit about really who I am, and going back to Leland's comments yesterday about being awestruck. And I am certainly awestruck with the whole concept of workforce development and what I've come to call the Educonomy. And how this started is the day I graduated from college, and several of you have heard this, so don't give the punchline, but the day I graduated from college, my mother said, "Katherine, you graduated with a triple major, English, sociology, and philosophy. That means you'll be able to write about it, think about it, talk about it, but you'll never eat it." And what she meant is that what on God's green earth are you going to do as it relates to a job and earning an income based upon being a poster child for liberal arts education? So I think that was kind of that first awestruck moment in my life where I thought, what is it I'm going to do? I wanted to be a sociologist. That's what I thought I would do. I thought that I would complete my undergraduate studies, go on, eventually work at a research university. However, what I did is I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart and moving around the country because he is a TV journalist, which means you're married to somebody with doctor's hours but starving artist pay. So there we both are. And so I found myself working, as you've heard, in a variety of jobs, really around this concept of workforce development. And I had the opportunity to see it from a lot of different perspectives. I worked on it from a business advocacy with the Lynchburg Chamber of Commerce. I worked on it from a perspective of when Liz Povar referenced the PICS earlier this morning, or JTPA. I helped a region transition from an old employment and training program to a new training program under the Workforce Investment Board. I had the opportunity to work in the governor's office and assist state policy leaders and business leaders in really thinking through how do we create demand-driven workforce investment systems at the regional level that when you connect them, it creates a statewide service delivery structure that is consistent throughout the Commonwealth. And as I was doing this work in the governor's office and for a variety of different agencies, I would often go back to Iowa and visit my grandfather. And he was so excited. I was working for a governor. He thought, "Katherine, you had arrived. We didn't know what you were going to do with those skills of yours, but it makes sense that you're working for the politicians. You know, you're in the governor's office, you're in it now." And so he would say, "Well, Katherine, tell me a little bit about what it is you do." I said, "Well, Gramps, I do workforce development policy work." and he would just look at me as if I had said, I put, dirt in containers. He was just like, what is that, and why would somebody do that? And so I would talk with my grandfather about, Gramps, what workforce development is it's those conversations that you have around the dining room table, or in the morning as you're racing off to work, or talking with the young people in your home, or the person down the street, and it's about those who got laid off. It's about those who dropped out of high school. It's about those who got halfway through college. It's about those who completed a certificate program. It's about those that are relocating because they were laid off and now they need to go to where the job is. That's what workforce development is. It isn't floating up in this other space about what is it we do and it must be so complicated. It's the everyday stuff that we talk about and that we care about. It's about the linking the education with economic opportunities and employability, life-sustaining wages, and how you put that all together. And that's what I refer to as the educonomy. So it's about the educonomy, stupid. It's really not that complicated. It's the things we puzzle and talk about with our dearest friends, our colleagues, our boss, and our community leaders every day. It's all pieces of those that make up the whole. So I'm going to try to be brief in my comments today, which means I put too many slides in here already. So I will skip through some, but I will, at the beginning, start with some contextual overview as it relates to my current role with the Virginia Manufacturers Association. I am delighted to serve as the Director of Workforce Development for the VMA. I've known the President and CEO for more than 10 years. In the Commonwealth, and he certainly has a vision for ensuring that we have vibrant local economies with a strong manufacturing base. And so I have had the honor to work with him and the membership now for the last 2 years and really scaling our workforce development efforts with partners such as yourselves. So here's when I talk about the educonomy. I worked with a lot of policy boards. I worked with a lot of program practitioners, educators, workforce development folks, community action groups. I mean, you name those stakeholders that we talk about needing to bring to the table. I have worked with them. I have staffed the policy boards. I have done the research. I have proposed programs. And I always found it difficult when we talked about workforce development. People say, well, that's not really my job. I'm not the lead. It's education over there. I'm economic development. Education's about workforce development. Education providers would say, I'm not the workforce development lead. That's the Workforce Investment Board. I'm in education. I'm not in workforce development. And what I found is that when we talk about workforce development as a standalone policy area, and we don't refer to it as the educonomy, that is positioning education as an engine for economic development, then nobody takes responsibility. So what I did is created a little Venn diagram that very quickly summarizes what is at play when we talk about the educonomy. And it's really, as we heard in the last panel, begins with business and industry. Understanding what are the current employment projections, demand for skilled workers in critical occupations currently and 5 years down the road. And then mapping those into what are those specific occupations employed by those specific companies in my community, and what are those occupational skills, those job skills that are required in order for somebody to be employed or advance in that career. And then that goes to the third piece of it, and that is making sure we have the supply in place. That is the quantity and quality of the workforce necessary. And let me say that again. It's the quality and the quantity of the workforce necessary to sustain business industry, to attract business industry, and to retain business and industry that is in our community. If we aren't working all three of these areas together as partners, we're not going to get it right. And we're not looking for a silver bullet, if you will, to hit that sweet spot in the middle, that educonomy piece. We're looking for magic buckshot. That is, how do we come up with the best ammunition we can that's going to have a lot of spray and it's going to hit a lot of things, and some of it's going to hit the right spot. We can't not act because we haven't convinced ourselves that we've got that one right magic bullet. We've really got to be willing to pull the trigger, if you will, that magic buckshot on that sweet spot called the educonomy, where we all intersect, and it's going to take all of us in order to get it done right. And we all need to lead that part of the process, which is core to our mission of our organization or our company. So when I talk about it's the educonomy, stupid, this is what I want you to take away with today is, how do we put these pieces together? How do we leverage the resources that are already in existence and then competitively resource those places where we have gaps? Let's not duplicate, let's leverage, and let's work together. And what you will find, and I look out in the room and I see several key partners that I've had the opportunity to work with now, some for months, some for years, but certainly I can't thank Dr. Adams enough for her leadership and vision, along with Nettie and David Keneally here at the Higher Ed Center. Certainly John Cannon and all the community involvement and leadership he has provided to this region. Dr. Barry Johnson and his efforts with CCAM and UVA, and several others who are here, and really helping to create those partnerships, if you will, that focus on the educonomy. So, beginning with what's happening as it relates to business and industry, which impacts occupations, and jobs, which impacts the skills pipeline. This is the West Piedmont Workforce Investment Act region. When we talked earlier about the skills gap, and is there one? Well, yes, there is one. It's just how big or bad is it, or how wide or not is it? And what this does is just provides a snapshot, one view of taking a look at the skills gap in part of this region. And what it's doing is it's calculating the demand for workers by education levels, because education attainment levels are used as a proxy in our society for trying to communicate what are the knowledge and skills required for certain occupations. It's not the best taxonomy, but it is consistent, and so we do use it for analysis purposes. And here we see for the middle skills gap that over 82% of the employment openings in this region are in those middle skill occupations, those jobs that require more than a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree. And when the question was asked earlier about the need for master's level, PhD level folks to support the growth of advanced technology industries, the answer is yes, those people are in need. Do we have a significant undersupply? No, because typically those types of individuals are willing to relocate all over the country to go where the highest paying job is. However, when you're talking about middle skills occupations, that's what's in your backyard. What are those workers in your communities who are transitioning careers, who have been recently dislocated or laid off, who are looking for a career change because they want to have career advancement and they want to increase their economic well-being? Those are the types of individuals that we are targeting, those who are the emerging workers coming from our K-12 system, and getting them interested in staying in the community, because there are good paying jobs that don't require a 4-year degree, but the average weekly wages for manufacturing occupations is $67,000 in the Commonwealth. That's $67,000 per year in the Commonwealth. This is real, folks, and so when we talk about the educonomy as it relates to this region, this is the data that we need to use to inform where do we leverage resources and where do we competitively resource new programs and strategies for closing the skills gap. At the high end over there where you see BA and above, the annual demand for this Workforce Investment Act region is 111. The region is producing 309 graduates for those occupations employed in manufacturing for this region. On the other end of the continuum, where you see on-the-job training, skills training, certificate, and associates, you see that's where the greatest demand is and the least amount of supply produced from our current pipeline. So again, when we think about how do we align that and using that magic buckshot, it's where do we need to put the resources. Another piece of data, the VMA in 2007 conducted a skilled trades gap analysis study, and it's a bit out of date now, and the economy has certainly changed, but the important piece about this research is that this study defined the manufacturing technician occupational job role. Why is that important? Because when we take a look at that middle skills gap and those occupations at that more than a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree, it's in what is referred to as the manufacturing technician job role. That with the professionalization of the production occupation, the skill sets have changed, and I won't restate what was already shared in the previous panel, but this is to that point about that role has changed, the skills have changed. To Dr. Johnson's analogy using Dan River, that's exactly what's happened. You have to have minimum skill standards beyond the high school diploma that shows that you are trainable and have the ability to benefit from technical instruction, and those are those manufacturing technician occupation. And here, that's where our greatest demand going forward will be. Third piece of information when we talk about skills, we routinely survey our manufacturers, the more than 5,000 manufacturers in the Commonwealth, to keep our finger on the pulse of what it means when they talk about what their skills needs are. To Lee Cochran's point on the earlier panel when she said, you know, you sit down, you meet with employers, you meet with the HR folks, you ask them what exactly is it you need, and they really can't come up with the words to describe. It's because we don't have a common language. And I could spend a whole nother day talking about the use of standardized assessments and the like that would help to create that common language. I wasn't invited to do that today, so I'll just leave it at that. But with these three skill areas, what's important is we've got the soft skills. And so when we ask manufacturers about those things as it relates to work ethic, punctuality, and teamwork, 45% said entry-level workers were fair, poor, very poor. When we ask them about measurable skills preparation, that is those skills measured by the Career Readiness Certificate and 3 applied academic skill areas, that being reading, math, and locating information. Again, 48% said that the entry-level workers were poor, very poor, and fair. The third bucket, which aligns to the manufacturing technician type of job role, is basic manufacturing principles around lean manufacturing, process controls, quality management, and problem solving. There you see a significant jump that our manufacturing employers in the Commonwealth report that 69% of them, of the new hires, would be at the fair, poor, very poor level. So again, when we think about as a member association, that being the VMA representing more than 5,000 manufacturers, and we're doing advocacy role in the General Assembly, where we are working with partners to develop programs and policies and strategies to close the skills gaps. These are the data points that we use to guide our efforts. If I propose anything to my board or my boss that falls outside of these priority areas, it's no. We stay focused. Which goes to my next slide before I really jump into some of the tools that we've developed and want to invite you along on this journey and the ongoing refinement of them, development and identifying of them. Our manufacturers summed up our workforce priorities in these 3 areas. One is that there should be additional requirements for career and technical education in Virginia's K-12 system. Check, we heard that earlier today. Virginia should have a standardized manufacturing skills credential system that certifies workers for competencies at the entry level and continue up through the college level. Third is the public image of manufacturing occupations is a major contributing factor to the problems employers experience in recruiting skilled workers. Yes. So these are the 3 areas that I spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making sure that I am helping, doing my part to support all of you do what you do better, so that, again, we can pull that trigger on the magic buckshot. This is what I am awestruck about. Again, going back to Leland yesterday, and what motivates me is carrying out these 3 workforce priorities on behalf of Virginia's manufacturers, because it helps us to remain one of the most competitive work environments, places to do business in the Commonwealth. So in response to those 3 areas, the first being K-12 and the need for additional CTE at the high school K-12 exposure, this is what we do. Again, I could spend a whole nother day on VMA advocacy and government relations policy work. You don't want to hear it, just know that we're in the halls. We do a lot with the legislators to make sure that from a policy perspective, as Liz Povar said in the previous panel, that things are happening in the Commonwealth that support a state-level effort combined with a grassroots effort. The next area, when I said the manufacturing technician occupation, we worked with industry to develop this occupational definition, as well as a set of skill standards, an assessment that's been third-party validated and has a cut score of 0.94. And we've created the assessment, online training, and classroom-based training around this critical job role. And you can see here what the manufacturing technician, which skill sets it certifies, 3 core areas: math and measurement, quality and business acumen, spatial reasoning, and manufacturing technology. Again, tying back to the previous panel, the need to have individual workers connect with the bottom line of the company is very important, and that's what the quality and business acumen modules address. I'm pleased to say that Kevin Pavaglio is with us today from ECPI University. ECPI University, we partnered with because of their commitment to only providing those educational programs that result in employment opportunities within a region. And so they've become our lead training partner in delivering the manufacturing technician training and certification and assessment system. And we are hopeful that we will be launching that community-wide here very soon in partnership with the Higher Ed Center. We then worked with industry. All of the work that the VMA does is industry developed, industry driven, industry endorsed, and industry validated. That's who our members are. We're not a government organization. We're a private, not-for-profit member association. So if our members aren't pleased with our output, we don't have members. So you see some of the members. Micron was mentioned earlier today. Micron helped to develop this certification. It is used as a high-stakes assessment for employment up at Micron Technologies in Northern Virginia. They helped to put together a career pathway that builds on soft skills assessment and the career readiness certificate, moving up through the manufacturing specialist and technician and the higher technical skill levels as well. The piece that gets me most excited is the whole, so what do you do, I make? When the questions were asked earlier about how do we get people interested in these careers? If we build the training programs, if we build the centers, if we buy the newest equipment to provide training on, if nobody's interested in these jobs and working in manufacturing because they think it's dirty and they think all it is about repetitive motion, doing the same thing over and over again as it relates to producing of a widget, we will never ever find folks interested in coming to work in our factories, helping them to understand that it's a new day in manufacturing, that if it's manufacturing and it's in the United States, then it automatically is advanced manufacturing. We cannot allow for waste in the process of manufacturing or for those types of production lines where you still allow 7 people to complete one part of the process that now a robot can do. It just doesn't exist. And so what we are doing is 2 years ago, we launched the whole, so what do you do, I make rebranding strategy. And what you see here is it's I make jets fly. I make life taste better. I make clean energy. It's connecting potential career seekers with what the end product is in manufacturing, that you are part of a bigger mission, that what you do in that process, the production environment, results in a societal good, something that makes a difference. It's either something you touch, eat, wear, sit on, drive, listen to, holding it in your hand. That's what manufacturing is all about. And it begins with that whole engineering design process, taking something from concept to commercialization and having workers along that entire continuum who can see how they work together to make certain things. We are absolutely pleased that the Dan River Regional Collaborative has become a Dream It, Do It Virginia partner, and through their relationship with Goodyear, they are just now releasing a Goodyear sponsored piece. It's I make the trip smoother. So again, when we think about how can we get people interested in these careers, it's creating this aha moment where people go, wow, really? I didn't think manufacturing was about that. I thought it was Laverne and Shirley. That's what I thought manufacturing was. I didn't realize that what I do, it goes back to, I'm sure we've all heard at some point the anecdotal story about the janitor that worked at NASA, and he was asked, or she was asked what it is he or she does, and their response was, I help put people on the moon. It's having that same connectivity within the manufacturing environment about, so what is it you do? I make. And thank God my grandpa didn't ask me that question, because I don't know what kind of answer I would have come up with then. But again, I think this is very powerful, and cornerstone to our efforts is really working together to get out the word about how do we use these I make pieces. Are they at the library? Are they at the grocery store? Are they at the ABC store? Let's think about where people go every day. not everybody comes to a one-stop career center. Not everybody comes to the innovation center. We've got to go to where the people are and create that aha moment for them that then says at the bottom, and oh, by the way, go to the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center to learn more. That's when we then connect them with training opportunities. So what we have found is that we can't go it alone. We are a staff of 4 people at the Virginia Manufacturers Association. Our boss likes to run us like we're 20 people, but no, we are 4 people. And so when I joined the VMA and I took a look at these tools that the VMA had put together, I mean, skills-based training developed by industry for industry, the manufacturing technician. When I think about all of the policy work that we do and the advocacy and the like, how is it we get this at the grassroots level where it really makes a difference? We've got a short General Assembly session and a long one. That's it. I need partners at the regional level. So what do you do? The I make pieces. How do we get more businesses engaged? When the question was asked earlier on the panel about employer engagement, what people don't understand is that when you talk about engaging manufacturers, they're a little bit different breed than, say, other sectors of the economy. These folks are running factories 24/7. When you think about engaging them, think about when we hold our meetings. When is the symposium held? I'm guilty of it. When my conference is held, when am I trying to convene a task force on something? These folks can't bring people off the production line without paying a great amount of overtime to bring somebody else on. The plant managers have to be there to help troubleshoot and keep the operations going. So when we think about how to engage manufacturers, it's we as partners helping them to understand about, did you know there's this program? We're worried about your skills pipeline, and we could spend all day talking about the policy and the data stuff and what we're doing as program partners, which will make you snore because you really don't care about that, because that's our business to do it right, so that when we survey you, you say, yeah, they've got the soft skills. Yeah, they've got the core employability skills. Yeah, these people know about manufacturing technology. That's the engagement we need from you is, are these the right areas to be focusing on? We'll figure out the programs to provide. Then we'll come back and ask, are we moving the meter with you? And oh, by the way, would you be willing to sponsor one of these pieces? Because you know what? They don't know about your company in our community. Or if they do, they think that you're the one putting all the bad stuff in the river. That's who they think you are. They don't understand that you're making life-saving medicine, that you're helping the trip smoother. People don't understand that. So again, I think that's part of the way in which we engage employers in manufacturing and being part of the solution going forward is really through the whole I make piece, making sure that career coaches have this, parents have it, guidance counselors. We have a whole set of resources to support this marketing campaign that as a partner we give to you so that you can go out and be evangelical, if you will, about this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So here are some of the partner network goals. We realize we can't do it alone, so we work with partnerships, education, industry, workforce, communities to accomplish these things, that we improve the image of the manufacturing industry. We create a skills pipeline. We highlight industry as a community partner through things like the iMake. We help individuals access career opportunities. And at the end of the day, our goal is to reduce the cycle time and expenses to hire. Won't bore you with this. Again, when we talk about the toolkit, the important part of this visual is that the VMA is not out there to duplicate or compete with any partners. I know it won't work. It's a model that doesn't work. I'm here to support you. That's what my job is. And the way in which I do that is to help you have an organizing framework so that we don't all trip over each other. And that is realizing that there is a place for each of us at the table. Each of us has a core mission touching this continuum of workforce development, which is from explore to employ, involving the steps of getting people ready, educating and training folks, assessing and certifying them, and then helping them as it relates to career advancement and employment opportunities, and doing it through a network. That's what building out this toolkit is about for the Educonomy. So when I sit and talk with partners, sometimes I use this because I say, so what is it you do? Which part of this do you focus on? Because, I know somebody else who focuses on this part. And where I've seen a void is actually in this step. Would you all agree with that? And that way we, again, can leverage resources and competitively resource where the gaps are. But we have to have a common framework. We have to have a common language when we talk about the Educonomy, if you will. So the explore piece. The VMA is in the process of launching Dream It, Do It version 3 operating system. This is an online operating system that connects all the resources consistent with the Educonomy framework. It has information about business and industries, making up the advanced technology industry sector, jobs and occupations employed by those companies, and then what are the education training programs, experiences, internships, summer technology camps, anything that would provide exposure to you so that you have the aha moment and say, I want to make something. You come to this resource, and this is the one stop for accessing that. And it's not just for youth, it's really designed to fit multiple audiences. Again, we don't want to be duplicative. We don't want one website for youth, one website for those who are going to the master's level or PhD interest, educational interest, those who want just a certification. We want a one-stop resource where individuals, there's no wrong door when you come into the system. Here's just an example of the way in which we're building out kind of that self-interest. How would I know that a career in advanced technology industries would be good for me? Here we have Budget for Your Life, a new little application that we're adding that takes individuals through a TurboTax type experience, if you will. It is a series of questions that prompts you with multiple choice answers about what are your preferences. So it begins with location, where you want to live in the Commonwealth. You choose that location, that's going to pull then cost of living information for that region. So that when you do your analysis based upon what your monthly budget will be, it's relative to the community you want to live in. It then walks you through a set of questions around housing. Do you want to rent a house? Do you want to buy a house? Are you going to live at home? Are you going to live with friends? And it will give a predetermined dollar figure, assign one, to your answer. Because again, when we think we want students and adults to budget, well, where are they supposed to get the data and information? This assigns values to their choices, to their preferences. Utilities, food, do you like to eat out? Do you like to cook? Do you not eat? Entertainment, do you go out weekly? Do you go out monthly? Do you never leave the house? Clothing, are you like Catherine? You have to have retail therapy weekly. Transportation, am I going to buy a car, use public transit, use an old car? Education, where do I want to go? Which institution? Public, private, somewhere in the middle? And am I going to set aside any money for savings? So based upon my responses to this quick assessment, that again, I didn't have to know the dollar values to assign to my choices, my life preferences. System does it for me. It comes up with a total monthly expenses of just under $4,000. That's what I'm going to need to make in order to support my lifestyle. Breaks down the budget by percentage of where you'll be spending your money. And then the system does for you, it will return all occupations that you have a good fit based upon your preferred lifestyle. There are other assessment tools in the system that allow you to say whether you're creative, artistic, realistic, and it'll come up with a different set of occupations. However, what we find is that this kind of creates that, wow, I didn't really think about that. And oh, by the way, I didn't really think that there would be jobs in advanced manufacturing for me. I gave you my budget, and now here are jobs or occupations that are a good fit for me in manufacturing, and they're going to allow me to make the wage that I want to make. So from there, I can drill down and begin exploring the occupation. What is it commonly called? So when I see job postings on Monster or in the newspaper or wherever I go to do career exploration for specific jobs, here's some typical names that are used for the CNC machine tool programmers, what they typically do, a video so I can watch somebody actually doing this job. The education required, the wages, the outlook, is it in a growth mode or a decline mode within the specific region or the region that I want to relocate to. It also provides wages by industry so that, again, you can see across different types of employers, I can expect to make more or less in that occupation. Engineers don't make the same in all engineering firms. It depends on which industry you're associated with. So again, this is an important piece, linking down to the career readiness certificate. When it says skill level in this system, that is the career readiness certificate or work key skill levels as measured by ACT. So we give individuals a tool immediately that if they're interested in this occupation, they can get an assessment done immediately and see where is the skills gap and where do I need to close it so that I can even benefit from additional training. If my skill levels aren't at the CRC skill levels, Currently, I will not benefit from enrolling in any training program assigned to this occupation because I do not have the core applied academic skills to benefit from instruction. Another feature of the system is that it allows you, once you've identified an occupation, you can then identify training programs or select training offered by different institutions, and it will take you to that institution's profile page in the system. It'll provide financial aid information, how to enroll, all that other good stuff. In addition, when we talk about exploring, we also inventory or catalog all of our manufacturing technology camps. You can get to it through this system to see where is a camp being held. When we talk about outreach and awareness, giving people that experience so that they become more interested in careers in advanced technology industries, we have built out a manufacturing technology camp in partnership with Steel Incorporated, the folks who make power equipment. They actually just made an I Make piece, which I love, and I didn't have any to bring, but it is I Make You More Powerful. So again, Steel has been a huge contributor to the Dream It, Do It network, and they developed a camp that's really a camp in a box you can implement next month, next 2 months in your community that really gives individuals the opportunity to experience raw materials to finished goods. It's a 4-day interactive camp led by industry, usually on site at a sponsoring company's factory so that individuals can see the actual workplace. Real workers from manufacturing are the coaches for the camp, and at the end of the camp it culminates in a competition whereby the manufacturing technology teams compete to produce a product which they set up the entire equipment line, and they must compete and then will be judged who is the winner. It is a fabulous experience. I encourage you to take a look at sponsoring it. The last feature of the system that I wanted to show you is that on the back end as partners, when we think about how are we leveraging our resources and where do we need to competitively resource new things, we can look at the data of those exploring the system to see which occupations are they viewing by which zip code, which training providers are they viewing by zip code, which training institutions by zip code. Again, this allows us to know that if we are investing a lot of money, say, in Dream It, Do It, Virginia, and doing outreach and awareness and trying to get people, drive them to the system to explore careers, and these are all over the region in the grocery store, in the ABC store, the library, we ought to see these types of occupations being explored in this system. If we're not, then there's a disconnect. So what do we need to do different about this strategy? Or do we need to implement a new strategy? So again, we're trying to make sure that we build in ways in which to track our activity and our behaviors we're trying to change to see if we're actually bringing about a change. What I'm going to jump ahead to is this piece, because a lot of this was talked about earlier in the panel, and it's the skills gap and the training and how does it all come together. As I said, we chose ECI University as our lead training partner, and it's because they will help us to work at the community level anywhere within the Commonwealth because they have a statewide footprint. They don't have a restricted service delivery area. They can go anywhere in the state, and they will develop innovative programs, sitting down, talking directly with employers without taking it through a very bureaucratic review process. They're SACS accredited, so that means that they are just as reputable as any publicly funded 2 or 4 year institution. However, because they are private, for profit, they can manage their work processes a little bit differently. And so we are working in partnership with them and folks like Dr. Adams and her team at the Higher Ed Center to really understand when we look at this region and the current jobs and the planned jobs and what are we doing to stand up programs or support existing programs to produce skilled workers, this is the process we go through. It's understanding on the front end business and industry needs. Workforce quality, workforce quantity. How does that inform 3 types of training that we provide in partnership with other training providers around work readiness training, ensuring individuals have those core employability skills so that they can then benefit from occupational and technical training, which may be at a higher ed center or could be on site at an employer's. We go 24/7. We provide training on site at manufacturing companies, in the factory, all 3 shifts. We do training and assessment. Our instructors go. We are not restricted to bricks and mortar. The third area is in that product and or process specific training that we may send our performance consultants, if you will, out on site and work consultatively with the company, looking at their overall goals, what it is they're trying to achieve, what bottom line metrics are they trying to move, and where it makes sense to introduce new training, what type of training can we provide that is product and or process specific. So this is really our business model, if you will, and how we organize our resources to meet employers' needs so that at the end of the day, individuals have opportunity for employment and career advancement. I'm going to jump to my last slide. Again, this is really what it's all about. Again, kind of coming full circle about it's the educonomy, stupid. And it really is that if we don't work together, we're going to miss that sweet spot in the middle. And I guarantee that using this type of 5-step process from explore to employ, we can certainly organize ourselves in a manner so that collectively we have the magic buckshot. We might need a few additional pieces of ammunition. It may not all be there, but we can work together to pull that trigger for this region. Because I have to say, in my more than almost 15 years in the Commonwealth now, this region has something very unique and special about it that as an outsider you don't necessarily see. You have to experience it. You have to spend more than an hour here. You have to spend more time than just your economic development ambassadors. You've got to get out there and go to the Four Oaks. You've got to get out there and go to the local restaurants, see people in community conversations in action, because I know this place is an excellent region, and it is on the tipping point of being something bigger than it realizes, that I think will have a national status, because you are aligning everything at the right time. I could go on and singing your praises, but I firmly believe you're at the tipping point, and I think that as partners we can work together to do it, and I just thank you for providing me the opportunity to share some with you, and please continue the dialogue, continue to engage me, and let me know how I can assist you, because at the end of the day, I think I became an educonomist. I wanted to be a sociologist, but I ended up an educonomist, so let me help you do what you do well. So thank you.